right, Marks, get set.
Take one.
So, good morning. I'm here at the Keystone Dojo with my friends from Stillpoint Yoga, Joelle and Tiffany, and my name is Todd Cooper, and I teach Aikido and Jiu-Jitsu classes here. And we have a beautiful new program here with Stillpoint Yoga. Do you want to introduce yourself a little bit, Joelle?
Sure. My name is Joelle, and I actually want to tell the story of how we got here, because
Great.
I think that it was truly meant to be. My friend, who was one of my yoga students for a long time, saw your post on social media and randomly sent it to me, like, oh, you should check this out. I really didn't think about it for maybe 2 minutes. I was like, oh, maybe, whatever, right? And then we chatted, I came here, we met, and then I gave Tiff a call, and I was like, hey, Tiff, like, what do you think about this? All to say, we went from having no idea who Todd was to having this beautiful partnership in like 2 weeks.
And what did I say when we first met? The energy has to be right.
The energy has to be
And you're
right.
like, oh, I got to bring my cousin Tiffany. I'm like, I got to meet her. The energy's got to be good.
Yes.
If the energy's not good, or I don't like her, I don't know. So, because the people that come in here and teach classes and things like that, we all have good energy, and
Yes.
I think I'm a good judgment of character. So, and it was like that, right?
It really was. I walked in here and the space is beautiful. If you've never been here, you have to come here. The light is amazing, and the energy is amazing. The vibe of the teachers and all of the students is incredible. Every single teacher I've met that teaches here, myself included, of course, is wonderful. And it's amazing community to be a part of. So if you haven't been here and you are looking for a community to join, whether that's yoga, whether that's martial arts, whether that is, I just want to try something new. I want to try something I've never tried before, and I want to do that in a space that is going to welcome somebody who's new, that's going to welcome somebody who might not know what they're doing. This is the place to be.
You know, the community aspect of the dojo, and we pride ourselves that we say this is a dojo, is if I could bottle that up and sell it, because we have all walks of life here. You just saw Dr. Dave, and Steve's in cybersecurity, and we have physical therapists, we have law enforcement, we have students, we have blue collar workers, a wide gamut of people. And when you walk into that door, everybody, when you bow on the mat, is the same. So the community aspect is, one really, really important thing. And everybody here in the dojo is here to help each other. So it's really a wonderful thing. And Tiffany?
I'm Tiffany. I came into it actually because I answered an ad for Aikido. I did Aikido as a teenager and really wanted to get back into it. And then in the midst of talking to Todd about Aikido, Joelle called and said, hey, we have this opportunity to get a studio. And I was like, that's a lot. Give me 24 hours. And at the end of 24 hours, I was like, yeah, let's go ahead, let's do this. And I can't mirror what they said more. I think what we found in this partnership is an agreement in community and people, and the connection between martial arts, Aikido, and yoga is the idea that, like, you do what you do here on the mat, but what makes the difference is how you live your life.
Yes.
What you do out there in your life. So it's a combination of both bringing your life in here to the mat and sorting through whatever there's to sort through, whether it's through yoga or through Aikido. And then there's taking this person that you found here on the mat and bringing it out there in the world. I just think that Joelle and I particularly, because Todd's been here forever, are just so fortunate to be a part of such an incredibly already based community. I've had the opportunity of taking the classes, and I would agree, I came here having not done yoga in a long time. I won't age myself. And everybody was welcoming. Like, I did flips and rolls, and everybody broke it down for me, I think at the sacrifice of their own practice, to have me feel welcome and have me feel like I was a part of something bigger than just a martial arts class.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about how you came up with the name Stillpoint and your style of yoga that you teach.
Sure.
So Stillpoint was my brainchild.
Yes.
I wanted a yoga studio. I had started looking for one back in December, and I wanted something that reflected what was created through yoga. And for me, what I got out of yoga, particularly when I did my yoga teacher training, was this stillness, this ability to be with myself, in myself, finding my center, and then taking whatever that is and putting it out in my life. So Stillpoint seemed like an obvious choice because that's what I think people are looking for. And I imagine it's true with martial arts, like people are looking for that balance point, that still point, that center point where they connect back to themselves. As far as how we teach yoga, we primarily teach vinyasa, which is a slow flow yoga. I'll let Joelle talk about, we also teach a form of somatic yoga, which is exactly the same idea, getting back into your body, finding your center, finding your balance, but through a completely different form of movement, a completely different form of energy. But I'll turn it over to Joelle and she can talk more about somatic yoga.
Yeah. I think one of the unique things about our classes, whether you're coming to my somatic class or the vinyasa classes, is the focus on alignment, the focus on mind-body connection, and really being aware of what you are doing. I love how different forms of yoga teach different things, and while I appreciate the concept of transcending the body, I think we need to balance that out with being present with the body and being present with what's happening here. And so we really try to focus on that balance in what we teach, where we're not just transcending, we are also simultaneously being present. One of my favorite quotes is, "You can only be as spiritual as you are grounded," right? Whatever spirituality means to you. And so having that duality, I think whether you're here in the studio on the mat or you are taking that out into your life, is incredibly important as a conscious practice.
Yeah, and one of the conversations that we had leading up to having a little coffee talk here is there's a lot of similarities of Aikido and yoga. And I personally believe that sometimes Aikido is misunderstood. And one of the most important aspects of Aikido is, we call it moving meditation. And it's the same for yoga, and it's the same here as jiu-jitsu and the other arts we have here. When you come into the door, we have this beautiful space. You're not supposed to think about work, school, food, girlfriends, boyfriends, all this stuff for that hour and a half that you have that class. If you want to pick it all back up when you're done, that's up to you. But I've been in a lot of Zen temples in Japan, and my teacher, sensei, is like, Todd-san, boring? I'm like, sensei, sitting there a little boring. Is it? Don't need it. Come to Aikido for an hour. And Aikido is Zen in motion, and Zen is Aikido at rest, and that was his philosophy.
That's so
I love that.
Yeah. And I think we have a lot of the same principles. We have them on the wall here. One of the most important things is, you say it's staying centered. In Aikido, we say keep one point. And that comes through practice, and that comes through being grounded, whether it's through our breathing exercises, or we talk a lot about posture. One of the principles on the wall is correct posture, because everything you do, if you have correct posture, you're already halfway there. Positive mind, that's another one of our principles. This is a very positive environment. So positive mind in today's society is probably one of the hardest things. There's a lot of negativity in the world. There's a lot of negativity built up in people. So trying to find that positive mind, and you find that through yoga. Through Aikido. Now look, Aikido is awesome. Aikido is great for self-defense. A lot of law enforcement uses it. We use the principles of Aikido to avoid things. But I think the relationship is really, what we call Budo, is what you do here on the mat, you should be able to do it off the mat.
Yeah.
And as you know, I was just in Japan 2 weeks ago with Sensei, and I had a chance to interview him. And his message to everybody now was, find happiness through what you do. If you can't find happiness through what you do, then
I love that.
But it's such an easy thing for us to say, but it's so hard. Find happiness through Aikido. Find happiness through yoga. And I think that comes with the instructors, having great instructors, a positive environment, a community, and then the hardest part to get people to do is showing up. So we have this saying, showing up is the hardest thing to do for Aikido classes. It's very easy to sit on the couch. Last night it was 95 degrees outside.
Yes.
It's much easier to stay in your air conditioning and come and train. But whether it's yoga or Aikido, if you show up, you'll be rewarded. And that's trying what I sell, and it's a hard thing to do in today's society. So.
Yeah, I think another thing that I noticed being in both your class and being in mine and Joelle's class is the focus on teaching versus instruction. I've noticed today watching the internet and stuff, there's a huge distinction between instructors and teachers. So can you break it down?
Right.
Can you explain to me why this action is going to impact my mental physical state? Why is this pose going to affect my mental physical state? I think that once you can start to teach that, that's when people actually start to get the fundamentals of how do I take this practice out there into the world. And I think having been in your class and been obviously in both of our classes, that focus on coming back into the body, that the poses are not designed necessarily to do the pose. They're designed to bring us back to your 1 point, our still point. And I think that is such a valuable part of what you're talking about with happiness is, it's sort of a cliche, but until we're happy with ourselves and our own brain and our own process and our own work, there's no way to be happy out there in the world. There's no way to reflect that until you find it inside yourself. And with my first class, I felt terrible at it. Like I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to tumble, but I left the class feeling like...
I did my job.
But I left the class feeling like I want to be a part of a community of people that has this as their priority. I think that's the part about what we all have in common, is that we want to build a community where the priority is balance, stillness, creating the kind of human being that wants to be out there in the world and affect change.
You know, it's very interesting about the teacher thing is I never say I teach class. I always say I lead class. Because to me, everybody's teaching me. You know, they're making me a better teacher. So I always say I lead class.
I like that.
So I think it sounds a lot better than I'm going to go teach class. I'm going to go lead class. So what do you think, or tell me what students can expect when they come to one of your classes?
Yeah, when students come to classes, they're going to probably, if you're a first-time yogi coming to a class and you don't know a cobra from a down dog, expect to be challenged a little bit, right? You're doing something new. That's okay, right? We have students who walk in here who are brand new to the mat. We have other students who have been practicing longer than I've been practicing yoga. And that is the magic, right? Having this incredible diverse and variety community of people, you know, old, young, different backgrounds, different cultures, coming in to focus on, again, finding that same thing we all have in common, that keystone inside of us, that still point, right? And so you can expect to be challenged, but that's okay. That's a part of what we do here, right? You can also expect to be safe, right? That is an incredibly important thing as we lead a yoga class, that we are keeping you safe in your body and that we are giving you the appropriate cues, that we are adjusting you if you're comfortable with that. Also, you can expect, depending on the class, to be super sweaty or maybe not super sweaty, right? We have classes that are high movement, athletic, powerful classes, and then we have classes for anyone who maybe isn't looking for that as a part of their yoga practice, right? They're not looking for the super power loud classes. They're looking to ground down and be still and move more slowly. But all in all, our goal here is, of course, to keep our students safe in their bodies to the best of our abilities, and to challenge them, right? That you come here and you leave with something new. You leave with something that you've grown or gained.
And I think that's the similarity between yoga and Aikido.
Yes.
So we have a saying here, don't beat others, beat yourself.
I love that.
And when you walk into the door, my job as one of the leaders of the dojo is to challenge you. Exactly what you said. We keep it safe. It's a very safe and friendly learning environment.
Yes.
But our job is also to make you grow. And everybody grows at different levels, just like yoga. So some people are more athletic. Some people can't roll in Aikido and they have a hard time. Some people pick it up naturally. Some people are lost for 6 months. And we take that human being and then we find, how to make them grow. And everybody grows on a different path and as a different individual. And yeah, some days, last night, Thursday, we call that Thirsty Thursday. That's more of a sweat class because all the guys and gals like to go out and get a beer after. Part of the community. Tuesdays is Technique Tuesday where we slow it down and you do a little bit more technique. So you're right, some days it's sweat, some days it's this, but we also work with everybody's ability.
Yes.
So if you're not as athletic with the person you're working with, that's not a problem. Come do that. And I think that's really similar in yoga. At the end of the day, we want you to be your best self. Bring it out on and off the mat.
Yeah.
And really grow as a human being. And that was Sensei's philosophy. He always said Aikido is always about growth. How to challenge yourself and how to grow. And once again, the most challenge is showing up.
Yes.
So getting through the door.
So there's a lot of conversation today everywhere all over about the nervous system, and I want to address that because I think that there's some conversation out there that like we have to slow down, give the nervous system time to settle, all that kind of stuff. And I think one of the things that both with Aikido, I came here super anxious, nervous, didn't know anybody. I think one of the things you can start to expect is how do we train the nervous system to actually manage the life out there.
Yes.
And I trained horses for 10 years, and one of the things that we would do with horses is on the ground, we would really challenge them, push them through obstacles, put tarps on them, step them over things that they were nervous of, so that when it was time to ride, there was an experience of like, oh, this is easier. When I get a partner on my back, I can go ride. And I often feel that same way about Aikido and yoga, is that there is something to be said about being challenged in here, about having your nervous system challenged, about having your body challenged, about having your mind challenged. And then if you can manage it inside here, if you can manage it in a headstand, if you can manage it in a roll, if you can manage it inside of a community of people, then out there in the world, there's a balance inside you. Whereas I think, not to talk a hot topic, but there is this idea that like everything has to slow down, everything has to stop happening so that I can feel happy, versus like, what if inside of 8 men rolling around and flipping and getting turned around, what if inside of there I can actually feel peaceful, feel excited? Same thing with yoga. Like, what if you're asking me to do a pose that I've never done before, and I can try that pose, and at the end of it, maybe I got the pose, maybe I didn't get the pose, but I get to know myself as someone who pushed outside that box, who took myself and challenged myself, and then found an expansion in both my physical and emotional state.
So, here we practice Kokikai Aikido, founded by my teacher, Sensei Suchi Mariyama, who I grew up with. And his big philosophy, or his project in life, was taking someone in the dojo and making them a better person outside the dojo through Aikido.
100%.
Similar to yoga. For example, I have a friend who's an ER doctor. He says when he sees all the different patients and there's chaos in the ER, he uses his Aikido principles. Because, in your black belt test in Aikido, you take 5 people on one, and it's organized chaos. And through that chaos, you can apply it. Dr. Dave, who you just saw, who just left, he uses it every day. He's at a tough hospital. Being a better salesman, being a better teacher, being a better student, a better nurse, and all these things is what you learn in here, whether it's being thrown, working on technique, doing yoga. The idea is you take what you learn on the mat and you apply it off the mat. And for us as martial artists, or even yogis, that's how you really, that's the test, Come in here, learn, do things, and apply it to real life. And that was always Sensei's philosophy of what really Kokikai is, through his principles of correct posture, positive mind, keep one point, relaxation. Sure, you can come here, you can sweat, you can throw each other, you can practice techniques, you can move, but what kind of person are you? And that's kind of like the human test. So
How long, I know with yoga, it's been a spiritual practice for 5,000 years. How long has Aikido?
Aikido is actually a modern martial art.
Okay.
Developed, in probably, I guess it started really forming in the 50s, when it really started getting, and then getting more popular in the 60s, 70s on, but it's one of the more modern martial arts, but it's derived from, Aikido, Jiu-Jitsu, and Jiu-Jitsu, so all the principles have been the same for a long time and for centuries. So I think in today's society, one of the things I want to talk about today is, we have iPhones, or whatever kind of phone you have, and when I was growing up in martial arts, people played a sport, did martial arts, did an instrument, something like that.
Yeah.
Now, it's really hard to acquire new students. And I think people want instant satisfaction,
Yeah.
instant gratification, and they're not patient. And Aikido is one of those arts that takes a little patience. When you do another art, which I love, like Muay Thai, you hit a pad, you get instant feedback. Jiu-Jitsu, you can learn an armbar or choke your first night, instant feedback. Aikido takes a little bit longer because you manipulate people's body and you use balance. And I think that might be a little similar to yoga if you've never done it. And in today's society, there's just not as much patience as there was before. And I think that's the hardest part. When someone comes in, we had a new student come in last night. I said, give me 3 months. It's an investment in me and it's an investment in you. And at the 3-month mark, it seems like a long time, but it's really not.
Yeah.
You'll be like, you walk in, you're like, all right, I'm getting a little bit of this. You know what I mean? Versus just try 1 or 2 classes, like, this is crazy, So I think that's.
So I'd like to speak to Aikido as a woman, because I think, a lot of martial arts is combat, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's deflecting, it's blocking, it's, you can count on maybe having bruises or whatever. And the reason I started taking Aikido when I was 19 is someone sold it to me basically as self-defense. And so as a woman taking Aikido, I think it's important to address, I feel like there's so much more I can do inside this practice because I don't have to be strong. I don't have to be willing to take a hit. I don't have to be combative. I get to take whatever energy, and this is so true of what we were talking about there. Like, I get to take whatever energy is coming at me
and then deal with it.
And deal with it. And I think ultimately use it to my advantage.
Yes.
The stronger the throw, the more energy I have to work with to get them out of my way. And I think it's just worth saying, as we put this out there, like, as a woman, the ability to be able to take energy, both emotionally and physically, and transform it into a way that actually serves me, I think was my favorite part of Aikido, is that I could be, 5'2" and 98 pounds, or I could be 5'10" and 180 pounds. Either way,
we receive what you give us, and then we manipulate it and deal with it.
Yeah.
That's the cool thing about Aikido.
Yeah. So I think that's probably worth saying, because I think martial arts does have a bit of a idea of, like, it's, you have to be big, you have to be strong, you have to be willing to take a hit, and that was never been my experience.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because that is the Aikido philosophy. The bigger they are, the harder they fall. And it's all about momentum and, how they attack and dealing with their energy and manipulating their energy and doing something with that. So I think there's a lot of similarities between, Stillpoint and Aikido Koki Kai. And, we're always talking about ways together to bring yoga students into Aikido and Aikido students into yoga. And I think we'll continue the conversation in doing that. And, come visit us.
Yes.
Yeah, come
say hi.
Yeah, come say hi. It's such a wonderful environment here, as we said. It really is. I pride myself on this dojo as a community. Anybody that comes in here has to fit in terms of instructors, and they really do. When you walk in that door, you should be greeted with a big smile, and it's a very positive environment. And remember, the hardest thing is trying something new, walking in the door, showing up. But come visit us, Stillpoint Yoga, Keystone Dojo, and I think if you show up, you'll be greatly rewarded. And I think that's
100%.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right.
Awesome. Goodbye.
I mean, I love the coffee talk. I mean, we could